Hey everyone, welcome to Ring Ready Live, the home of the owner handler, brought to you by Showsite Magazine. I'm Dan Sayers, here as always with Lee Whittier, key contributing editor to Ring Ready Magazine and the Dog Show Mentor. We are here for episode 7 of our conversation with you, the owner handler. And if you are returning, if you've been here with us from the beginning, we want to welcome you back. And if this is your first time here, you're really in for a treat. So sit back, relax, pour a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, make a smoothie, turn off all of your devices, and just enjoy the next 30 minutes where you get to immerse yourself with the Dog Show Mentor as we discuss all things owner handlers. So Lee, welcome back for episode 7. And before we get started, I wondered if you could remind everyone about your free Facebook non-members page.
I've created a Facebook group, Dan, and it's called Dog Show Mentor Owner Handlers. Please come and enjoy the conversation. Really bring your whole self there so that we can suss out questions and issues that you've had. And I make every attempt to respond to all your posts myself, and I go there every day. So please come and join us. I'd also like to thank Showsite Magazine Ring Ready for producing this Facebook Live.
We meet here every week, generally at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And once again, we're happy to have you all here. Lee, I know you have another a workshop coming up for next Wednesday. So we'll remind everyone at the end of the show, but why don't you share a little bit about the date and the time and just some of the details.
Okay, well, it's next Wednesday, May 19th at 5 o'clock Pacific time. And it's called Rate Your Dog, a workshop. And we're going to get in there and I'm going to talk about your dog and rating your dog. We're going to talk a little bit about your breed standard. And then we're going to have a workshop portion where you go to breakout rooms and you talk about your standard and share that and share how you can rate your own dog as it relates to the standard. So
That sounds like a lot of fun. And that's next Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And that's an interactive workshop, obviously. And I want to mention that Dog Show Mentor is also interactive. Your classes are live, for lack of a better word for it. Is that right?
Yes, and they're live and recorded. So the recordings all go into the platform, your school, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yes, and it's fun. I have a prepared portion, and then we talk about what comes up for people and what experiences are, and we share. People can weigh in on each other's comments. It's really it's fun, and so you should come.
And there's nothing like it out there. So everyone, please, Lee is always available and always accessible. So please reach out to her. Lee, I want to talk about a continuation a bit of our conversation from last week. And it was a very lively conversation where we discussed, there was a question about owner handlers asking the judges their opinion after the judging. And we heard from Shauna, who is asking, would it be better to ask the judge what he or she sees as the strengths in the owner handler's dog rather than the reason for the placement?
Shauna, I got that question and I thought about it for a minute and I thought, so what would be your intention in asking the judge that question? So, because you'll get an answer if you ask that question, but what is the point of that? What is your intention there? So that's it's a hard question to answer when my question would be, well, why? Why would you ask that question other than as a sort of a test of the judge's knowledge, or is it that you don't know? So if someone asked me that question, I would say, well, what do you think your dog's strengths are? I mean, so that's really the best way to answer that, is to check in with yourself, figure out what your intention is, and then check in again and say, well, what are my dog's strengths? And see if you can answer that question. And if you can't answer that question, come to my Rate Your Dog a workshop, and we'll suss that out for you. Okay.
That's beautiful. I hope that everyone who's listening will meet with Lee next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Lee, we also had a question from Sean from last week, and he wanted to know, are there online courses to learn and prepare for being an owner handler?
Honestly, Sean, thank you for asking that question. I did not put him up to this. Of course, there are online courses. This is the 21st century, and guess what? Dog Show Mentor is the first and longest running and popular online mentoring course, and we focus on strategies and approaches on how to win more in the ring. So come and join us if you have questions. And this is for anybody. I do offer a 15-minute good fit conversation where we talk about whether Dog Show Mentor would really be something that would be right for you and would really be helpful if my approach works well with what your approach is. So, yeah. Thank you for that question, Sean.
Yes, thank you, Sean. And I guarantee that you will have fun with Lee. You will learn, you will be mentored, you will have a coach, and Lee is going to make it fun for you and your dog. Lee, I know you mention that all the time when you and I speak. We're always talking about keeping it fun. And I know that you were an owner handler this past weekend. You had a wonderful experience with your girl, and I know it had to be fun for the two of you as an owner handler. And I want to remind our listeners, and maybe our new listeners may not be aware, that as well as being the Dog Show Mentor, you're also a breeder owner handler, and you are a multi-group judge. So you have a very unique perspective when it comes to when it comes to the dog sport and being able to position yourself as a coach and keeping it fun all at the same time. I don't know how you do it, but
well, because I love my exhibitors, and I love owner handlers, and I love professional handlers too, because they have so much to teach us. So when you love what you're doing, it's easy.
It sure is. And we have another question from last week from Debbie. This is a really good question. Debbie owns and shows a breed that puts many people on edge, including some of the judges. And her breed's standard calls for a breed that is aloof with strangers, highly protective of their charges. And when her breed is in the ring, it may exhibit reserve and a lack of enthusiasm. So is there any way that Debbie and other owner handlers of breeds such as hers can help to put the judges at ease when they are approaching the dogs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are many things that you can do to help put the judge at ease, but also put your dog at ease. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is make sure your dog is under control. Make sure that when that judge comes up, that your dog is stacked properly and that you've got control of the head. So that's controls the whole dog. And so what I've seen is on some of these bigger breeds and breeds that are aloof is that sometimes the handler doesn't have control of the head, and the dog is sort of eyeballing the judge. And so if the judge wasn't uncomfortable to start with, they become uncomfortable.
Yes.
So I agree that when a judge is unsure of themselves with a breed, it can go right to your dog. And then it goes from you to your dog because there's so much communication there.
Mm-hmm.
So putting the judges at ease is primarily making sure you have control of your dog. And then particularly if you act as though you know what you're doing, right? Not only do you have control, but you appear to have control.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to put the judge at ease. So I hope that helps.
It's certainly helpful. And if any of you have been in that situation, or if you have a breed or a dog that you're working through those sorts of things, Lee, I imagine that they can find you, and that might be part of the mentoring that you might tailor for them and for their dog.
Absolutely.
Great. So thank you for that very good question. Again, if anybody else has a question or a comment on the questions that we're discussing this week, feel free to let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We have a question this week, the official question, Lee, and we touched on this briefly several weeks back. You gave what I thought was a brilliant answer about giving advice to a novice to review her breed standard. And this week's question is, how important is it for all owner handlers to understand their breed's written standard?
Well, Dan, through our conversations, I think you know how I feel about this. And I'm pretty sure that I could speak for a number of other judges that it is the thing that makes a difference between winning and losing. Because you need to understand your dog's virtues and your dog's faults. And this is not, I did not, make this up. This is something that we all know. It's not my own genius. It's a genius of our community at large. And that is, if you know your breed standard, you can accentuate the virtues and minimize the faults. And what I see is, and when talking privately with owner handlers and as well as in my group, is that people think that they know their standard. They've been showing dogs for 10 years and they know what, they can quote 3 things in their standard. And maybe they can quote the hallmarks, but they don't really understand certain small aspects, certain words that make the difference. And when you start understanding that, you really start to understand your breed and your breed's purpose. Now, what you really need to understand is that each judge also reads and understands the standard as they read it from their view, from their filtered through their own lens. So words that occur in the standard may mean one thing to one person and something else to another. So you might read the standard as a breeder, owner, handler, or even as an owner handler in a completely different way than the judge does. And some of that is because the judge has read, in my case, over 100. I mean, I've read almost every standard and numerous times because of being a former field rep.
Mm-hmm.
But as a judge, I have 4 groups plus numerous breeds. And every time I judge, I will read the standards for each of the breeds that I'm judging a day or 2 before. And sometimes even the morning up if I'm doing a specialty. So I've read that standard hundreds of times over the years. And do you read it once a week? If you read it once a week, you've read it, you've been in it for a year, you've read it 50 times. That's pretty good.
Yes.
So do you think you've read your standard 50 times? Am I going on too much, Dan?
No, you're emphasizing the importance of all of us knowing the breed standards. You know, judges, you just gave the example of you as a judge reviewing standards before you're judging, but how many of us owner handlers review our breed standard? We have one standard probably to review, and do we review it the night before or the morning of a show? Because there may be something there that may actually help us in the ring. We may read something about expression and realize my dog's expression is textbook in our opinion. So let's enhance that. Let's show that to the judge. Make sure that the judge finds that. Is that kind of the value of really understanding your breed standards so that you can present your dog's assets? I think that's what.
Well, yes, and also understand all these questions about the judge and should I ask the judge questions. It's a huge part of the number of questions that I get on that particular topic is huge, right? So, but to understand that a judge who judges all those breeds has a vast library of vocabulary.
Yes.
And is going to read different words differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the head tapers from the ears to the eye, what does that mean? If it says slightly, tapers slightly, well, what is slightly? Dogs that are slightly longer, right? It doesn't say 10%. Some breeds are 10%. But if it doesn't say that, then so it's your standard in relation to another standard. And a lot of the older standards were written like that. The Fox Terrier standards, as an example, they talk about, a lot of the terrier breeds talk about their breed, and it doesn't say in relation to the Fox Terrier, but that's what the verbiage really is about, is this in relation to that. This is a short-legged terrier in relation to a long-legged terrier, right? So it's all in relation. So different terms are this term in relation to that term. So if you think that if you've only read 3 different standards in your whole 5 years, which you've probably read more, but if you only have, which some people have, you have a very narrow view of your standard. But what if you read all the standards and had a broad view, understood the vocabulary more effectively? I have right here, let me just get this. You know, I mean, what about Spira, you know? And I don't know if I can lift it because it's so heavy, but, you know, what about Gilbert? You know, have you looked up the terms in your standard in these books and understood really what some of these words mean? So that's another aspect that we go over in the workshop, is sussing out those the real meaning of the words in your standard. So, yeah.
Those are 2 important reference texts that you shared with us. Another might be the AKC Book of Dogs that contains all of the breed standards, and that is updated periodically. And to your point a moment earlier when you were referring to the Wire Fox Terrier, it is informative to read the standards of other related breeds, cousins, if you will, because those terms can be used in different ways, as you said. You know, for somebody who loves words and language and purebred dogs, there's nothing better than diving into your breed standard and doing a little bit of homework to find out what these words really mean. And it really does inform each of us as owner handlers when we step into the ring. I mentioned a moment ago that you showed this past weekend, and one of the things that we discussed, or Lee, that you've mentioned in the past, is to remember, owner handlers, don't give it away. Meaning, you've showed up, you've done your homework, you've reviewed your standard, so don't give it away. I love that dog show mentorism, Lee. Did you see anybody giving it away this past weekend when you were?
Yeah. In every ring that I passed, I could quickly discern people who, the judge is walking down the line and the front is wonky, or they come back to the judge and let the dog stand cowhocked. That's what I mean by giving it away. I mean, when you're not showing your dog's assets, you're giving it to somebody else who is. And I can tell you, it's not just the professionals, it's the quality handlers and the quality handled dogs that are able to really grab that gold ring, right? That's what you want. You want to grab that gold ring, that ribbon, whatever color it is.
That is another great dog show mentorism, that it's not the professionally handled dog or the owner handled dog, it is the quality handled dog. And the human at the end of that lead could be a PHA member, it could be just somebody with good hands, good eye, good skills, and a good student of the dog show mentor. I think that I love that one specifically, the quality handled dog, because we all see those dogs in the ring. They sort of jump out at you, don't they? When you're walking to get lunch and you just glance over and you see, wow, look at that, I don't know, Buhund or, an Otterhound, or just something where you just stop and your heart skips a beat and you realize that is a quality handled animal. Of course, we're not judging, but you get noticed. Everybody notices that dog.
Absolutely. And those are the moments that every judge wants, right? Is to have that flutter, that hair stand up on the back of your neck, your socks roll up and down. That's what you want.
Yeah, and that is really important for owner handlers to realize that, you're waiting for that moment, and they have that opportunity to give you that moment and give themselves and their dog that moment too. It takes a little work, and it takes being prepared, and of course having that quality handled dog. Lee, we were talking earlier about your workshop that's coming up, but I think you told me that you also offer free webinars to clubs or national breed clubs. How would a club contact you privately if they're interested in your presenting a virtual class just for them?
Oh, absolutely. I love doing this. It is virtual. I do record it, and I give the club the recording, and it's theirs to do as they wish. So they can give it to members. They can put it on their website. If they want to monetize it and sell it to members, that's fine. Whatever they want to do with it, use it as a fundraiser for maybe health and welfare. It's fun, and just contact me at lee@dogshowmentor.com, and I'll be happy to speak with you and set up a time.
Thank you, Lee. This is really a great time for clubs to be able to utilize the technology that allows services such as yours to help them and their breed. And there's no better time really to be an owner handler, because the resources that you offer, have not been previously available. And I'm encouraging everyone to reach out to Lee and to take advantage of her experience and her ability as a coach.
Oh, we lost Dan. Oh, there he's back.
I'm back. Welcome back.
It's magic.
It is magic. And we're just wrapping this up. And I just want to remind everyone that we're here each Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Last week, we offered a special to owner handlers who were advertising in our May issue. So we were offering 3 custom logos for owner handlers who placed an ad in Ring Ready. And we're going to do the same for the June issue. We're offering 2 custom design logos. So if you're an owner handler and you are going to place an ad in the June issue of Ring Ready, ShowSite and Ring Ready will work with you to design a custom logo for either your dog or for your kennel. If you're a breeder, owner, handler, and you've always wanted to have a logo, our designers will work with you and make this happen. So if 2 of you are able to place an ad by next Wednesday, that's the 19th of May, that custom logo will be part of your brand, either your dog's brand or your kennel's brand. And Lee, I know you spoke about the importance in advertising to not only celebrate the wins and the milestones that we achieve as owner handlers, but we also have an opportunity to brand our dog, ourselves, and our kennel. And what better way to do that than with a logo that is unique to you and your dogs? So
Absolutely.
Please reach out to us. And there's always space for you here at Ring Ready and Ring Ready Live. We want to make sure that this is a place for you where you can pause, as I've said before, to really dive deep and just enjoy half an hour each week talking about everything that's important to you, the owner handlers. And as I've said, Lee and I are both owner handlers. Lee is the judge. She is a show chair. She's a very busy woman, but she makes time for each and every one of us because, Lee, as you said, this is your passion and it's fun for you. And it's fun for me as well. And I think it's fun for our producer, Alex, who brings us together every week. Thank you, Alex, for making Ring Ready Live a possibility for us and for owner handlers here at home and around the world. Is there anything that I missed, Lee, this week that...
You know, we had a question come in late on email that I wanted to address, and it was regarding reinstatement. Do I have a minute to do that?
You do.
Okay.
You do. That was a question from Cindy.
Cindy, right. So Cindy had her dog disqualified, and according to what I read, the judge had said to her, "You're excused," and so I wanted to encourage all owner handlers to understand that there's a differentiation between being excused and being disqualified, and it is up to the discretion of the judge. But you have to know, because if you're excused, then you can come back tomorrow. If you're disqualified, you cannot. You have to go through a reinstatement process. And so it's important before you leave the ring to ask the judge, are you excusing my dog? And if the judge says yes, then that's the end of it. If the judge says, I am disqualifying your dog, then they have to fill out paperwork, and they should refer you to the AKC field rep for information on fully understanding what disqualification means and giving you information on reinstatement. And I think further, that question was, should I go through the reinstatement process myself, Cindy, or should I have a professional handler do it? And that's not a question that I can answer because I don't know your dog, I don't know you. So what I would suggest is that you find a local trainer who specializes in behavior and work with that person, and then make that determination based on how that relationship works out and how the process of retraining your dog works through. So I want to encourage you to, it sounded like your dog had quite a bit of success in the ring, and I would encourage you to find the AKC person who is in charge of that and figure out the best process for your particular dog. Okay.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you, Cindy, for that question. Lee, as a former AKC field rep, you understand that those kinds of questions are going to be asked, and in addition to being a coach and mentor, you have that experience as a field rep, and so I and everyone listening.
Yeah, and I want to be really clear here that it's been almost 10 years since I was a field rep, so I don't answer field rep questions, but that I answered that as a judge. And I see that Denise has a real quick question. The 3 disqualifications is for a breed standard disqualification. Cindy was talking about a attempt to attack or bite. Okay. So you're right, Denise, on that. It is 3 disqualifications for a breed, like height disqualification, or one on pigment. Yeah. That's
thank
you
you.
had another question. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Denise. Thank you, Cindy. Lee, thank you for that clarification a moment ago. And again, thank you for all of your time this week. I really appreciate it. As always, it's always a delight. And I want to encourage everyone to join us next week. Lee, we're going to be talking about the human canine bond and how that can be utilized by owner handlers in the ring. So I'm sure that is a subject that everyone is going to want to tune in to. And if you have an opinion or a comment about the bond that you share with your owner handled dog, please reach out to us. You can reach out to me at ringready@showsitemagazine.com. And Lee, again, some reminders on how everyone can find you.
Dogshowmentor.com. And don't forget, we're having the Rate Your Dog workshop next week, May 19th, 5 o'clock Pacific. So it'll be a couple hours following this Facebook Live. And I hope you all will come, because no matter what your experience, we're going to have fun and we're going to dive in. And you know how I like to just dive in. So
you get a double dose of Lee next Wednesday, everyone. So we're all looking forward to that. Lee, thank you so much, as always, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in wherever you are. Again, reach out to us. We're always happy to entertain your questions and your comments. So until we meet again next Wednesday, have fun with your dogs, everyone.
See you in the winner circle.
Bye.
Bye for now.